jingle with big one, one, one. The first book is by Stephanie Archer. It's called The Fake Out. It's 438 pages. And so, to summarize the book a bit with my very short memory, it's the story of a girl that I forgot the name of, who is a physiotherapist for a ice hockey team, like the biggest ice hockey team, and blah blah blah. And don't ask me how, but she ends up fake dating, obviously the captain. Why is he fake dating her? I think it's because he wants to prove that he's a good captain, and in order to do that, he needs a girlfriend. Don't think too much about it. It's the magic of the plot. I can't remember much. I gave it 3 stars out of 5, which in my rating means it was cute. I liked it, but I won't remember it. And I in fact do not remember anything about it. The other one was also on my Kindle, and it was The Atlas 6. It's written by Olivia Blake, and I loved it. Got 5 stars out of 5. The beginning of my year was really prolific. I had very good books, and it's not often the case. Last year I had like 5 books in a row that were absolutely awful. So it just started my year like kind of positively. So it was 576 pages. So it's one of the biggest books that I've read this year. And here we go again with the bad resume. It's 6 people with power who are chosen to coin a competition. One of them need to go basically, and it's a dark academia in the purest sense of it. You know how sometimes books are like tagged as dark academia just because they go to school, but it's not really a dark academia. This one is both dark and academia, so 100% dark academia, which I liked. It's really slow, so be prepared, and it's a very, I would say, complex writing style, really detailed, really metaphorical sometimes, which I appreciate. But I saw some review that said that it was just too complicated and too boring because of it, you know. I don't think so, but I think it was beautifully read. The next book that I've read is, and I've read both books but not at the same time. I just finished the second book, but I'm going to introduce them at the same time. It's just making more sense. Is Once Upon a Broken Heart and The Ballad of Never After by Stephanie Garber. I don't know. This series is a little bit special because I didn't like the first one, but I liked the second one. Although I think they are the same quality, the difference is mood. I was not in the same mood when I read them. First one, as I said, I really liked the book that I read before that, and they were a bit more complex. I mean, The Fake Out was not, but The Atlas 6 was. she's quite useless. She's really naive and she's getting manipulated by absolutely every single person in those books, every character, whether they're her friend or not. She's just getting manipulated left and right, and she's one of those characters that keeps saying, oh my god, I'm so strong, I'm not gonna do that because I'm so strong, but then end up doing it anyway. It's the thing is, in the first book it kind of pissed me off. I just thought, oh, you're so annoying, just stop. Like I wanted to like throw her off a cliff or something. She was just, I thought she deserved everything that happened to her. The second one, she was still as naive and honestly stupid as the first one, but I took pity on her. Like I pitied her so much that I was like, yeah, no, I'm gonna protect that girl and I want the best for her, just because she went through enough at this point. Although it's her fault for being so stupid, she's just a kid, you know. I think the difference between the first and the second, which made me appreciate it more, was just that I realized that it was a book for children, and so I approached it as such. I read it as a children's book with children character, and so I was more forgiving, let's say. Okay. Next book is another book that I absolutely loved, which is Iron Widow. Iron Widow. If you are really into like book talk and social media, you've probably seen the author multiple times because she has a very, very prolific TikTok account. For the plot, I forgot to give you the plot the last one, but just imagine fairy tale. This one, the plot is the story of Zhejian. It's a retelling of the first and only, I might be mistaken, empress of China, and but in a very sci-fi fantasy world. So there is those mecha. China is basically China, which is called Shuaxia, Huaxia. But it's really just China. Is protected by this wall, the wall of China, against those mecha aliens. I don't know, think Power Rangers or Transformers. I think Transformers, better word. And China is also fighting with those same mecha, except that they're not, like, they're controlled by human, usually a human man, like a pilot, and it's a woman to give her strength to him, but all the women die, giving their strength to the man, and Zhejian's sisters dies like that, and she decides to take revenge, and turns out she might be more powerful than any man, and better at controlling those mecha. So So it's written by Sarah J. Maas, which is a very, very famous author at this point. If you read Aquatar, if you read Throne of Glass, those are two series that I liked, and so I read this series thinking, oh my god, I'm gonna love it too. I didn't. I hated it. I'm so sorry. I started with the first one that I hated. I thought that it was, how do you know what I mean? It was unedited. I thought that the editors, and I think she got a new editor for this book, so that might explain why, but let her too much freedom on how to write the books and just relied on the fact that, oh, it's Sarah J. Maas, it's gonna sell anyway, and so no work has been done on those books. They're too big for what they provide. There's no way. This book is almost 900 pages, and there's nothing worth 900 pages in there. The main character is annoying as can be. Her biggest struggle in life is that she has big boobs and a big ass. Literally, it's said in the book that it's her biggest struggle in life. Oh my god, she's so thick. The plot is, like, no one cares about the plot. There's a plot and it's happening in the background with the extra character, like the secondary character. They don't do anything. It's supposed to be an investigation, but no one's really investigating anything. It's just like sometimes they call a character and be like, hey, can you investigate that for me? And the character is like, yeah. And 3 chapters later, they're like, here's your answer, and that's it. Anyway, that's the first one. Second one, I only read halfway through because it was just a copy of the first one, which was like dialogues, just a series of dialogues for 900 pages of dialogue. It might be a play, who knows. We mentioned the past and the legends and what happened during the war 100 years ago, more than what's happening right now, because no one really cares. Most of the characters are insignificant, not developed enough. They have nothing to say. They don't tell you anything. Like, I don't know how to explain, but I went reading the third one because there's a big plot twist in the second book, which was the reason why I was reading those books in the first place. If you know what I'm referring to. But I read the third one. I thought it was, ironically, because I know people hated that third book, I thought it was better than the first two, but still not very good. I'm so sorry if you liked it. I know a lot of people did, a lot of my students did. I think I'm just not the target for this book. I can only recommend her other books, those I liked, but this one I could make a 2-hour long video about what I think is wrong with this book. Next book. For this next book, we're going into the crime scene. Okay. I saw this book when we were looking for like a Halloween reading with my friends. And so I thought, oh, Halloween crime, right? And so I went to the detective section and found this. I really like crime books, like detective, but the problem is that the main character is often like a old man in a countryside city, like in a small city in the middle of nowhere. I don't really care that much about old white men and like resolving crime. So when I saw this book, I was so happy. This is in 1920s Bangalore, and this newlywed Kaveri, I think it's her name, Kaveri. So Kaveri has a very lovely relationship with her husband Ramu. She decides to investigate a crime that happened at a party she was at, in order to protect smart and funny and just I can only recommend it. The crime aspect is also very, very good. She's really it's a really good detective story. I absolutely love it. Very good book. Okay, next book. We're back on my Kindle. Where did I put it? And it's actually not my Kindle. I'm lying. It's my phone because I read it as an audiobook, and it was Fourth Wing. Also not a very, very popular book on Book Talk, etc. And also a book that I liked, very loved it. I think that it helped that I was reading the audiobook because the audiobook was amazing. I listened to the graphic audio, and I think that it's almost 800-900 pages. Like I ate that in 8 days. It was so good, full of actions. I don't know if it's worth it that I talk about the story, but because it's so famous. But a girl named Violet wants or has to become a dragon rider, and there's dragons, and there's a bad boy. It's really cliche. Everything it didn't reinvent the wheel, as we say in French. It plays with the cliche very well, with the tropes. It knows how to use them, and yeah, I liked it very, very much. Another book that I've read is A Curious History of Sex by Kate Lister. So this is a non-fiction book. It's a history book about, you'll guess it, a curious history of sex. It's very interesting. I adore that book. I'm an historian, so that helps. But it really dives into a lot of topics, like obviously how vagina were represented across time, or prostitution, all of that, but it gives a very, very modern perspective on it, and it's hilarious. If you don't think that a history book can be hilarious, I invite you to read that book. It is really funny. I've highlighted a lot of stuff, not only for my work, but simply because it was hilarious. I recommend not reading it in public though, because there's a lot of explicit image on it. But if you read this, you're gonna learn a lot of things, and especially a lot of anecdotes that you can just pull out at party. Like, hey, did you know that? Fun fact. And it's funny. It's really interesting to see how humans have considered sexuality across time in such a weird way. Next book is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett. How to describe this book? So it's the story of Emily Wilde, and the book is her own essay, but it's not written like an essay, except sometimes it is, but not most of the time. It's a weird mix. I think most of all it is trying to be written like it, but because it would not suit a fictional story, sometimes it takes some liberty here and there, and it creates a weird mix, as you can hear it. I'm not a big fan of this book. I didn't dislike it, to be honest. I really liked the world. So it's the story of Emily Wilde, who is writing an essay about northern fairies, but self-described as cold, just mean, I think, and unlikable. And she describes herself as such, as mean and likable. But her being self-aware that she's mean and likable doesn't make her suddenly more bearable. There is a lot of interest in there, and they have sort of very platonic love story. I can say it like that, like nothing happens much, but I still don't understand what he likes about her. She just eats every joy in the room, do you know what I mean? And it's in general, this book is really slow because it is an essay that is dedicated to knowing more about the phase and stuff. It's a bit too much informative rather than it is like plot driven. To be honest, there's no plot much. I think you discover there's one when it's resolved. But yeah, not a big fan. I know there's the second one, something about the map of fairies or whatever. And although I think this book was not my worst read of the year, I will not read the second one at all. But let me know if you liked it. I think it's the kind of book that I didn't like, but I fully understand if someone else did. You know what I mean? So if you liked it, please let me know. Like, the cover is also very pretty. So the other book, and I'm not done with this one, but I've started it, is Harry Potter y la Piedra Filosofal. I've been studying Spanish for 9 years, and I don't feel like I've made any progress. So I've decided to finally go back to learning Spanish, mostly by just practicing it. And so practicing by reading a book that I already know, so that it's easier. And as much as I don't like the author, Harry Potter is a easy book that I know very well, that doesn't use a very hard vocabulary, so I'm reading it. It's been a while just because it's not really my priority. I read a chapter here and there sometimes. I'm also reading the audiobook at the same time to practice the listening. If, like me, you want to practice your Spanish, all the audiobooks are available on Spotify for no additional cost, so pretty sure you can also find them on YouTube. Next book is on my Kindle again, so here the tapping again. This book is called The Fairy Society of Irregular Witches. It is written by Sangu Montana. I'm so bad at pronouncing name, oh that's so terrible. But it was 338 pages, and unfortunately I didn't finish. I would say I reached 80%. You might be wondering what would I give about 80%. And it's because sometimes I think my time is too precious. I wouldn't say that this book was awful by any means. I think it had a range of very lovely characters. However, I don't know at which point we decided that it was okay to publish a book without plot or anything interesting. This book was just... So it's the story of a witch who gets a job after posting video of her being a witch on YouTube, whatever. And she gets a job as a teacher for 3 little witches, and that's it. She has to teach those kids, and she's in the house with the other people, and she interacts with them, and I guess if you like just spend more of my time, maybe an hour or two, to read nothingness. If you've read this book, please let me know how it finishes. Maybe I missed something huge. Maybe at the end she kills everyone and that would have been fun, but I doubt it. And last but not least, actually last and least, this book is Wayward by Emilia Hart. This is 3 stories in one, but in parallel of each other. First, the story of Kate in 2019, Violet in 1942, and then Arthur in 1619. Basically, it's the story of those 3 women in 3 different eras and about how they deal, what's their relationship with patriarchy. This is absolutely not what I was expected. When you read the resume, I think you expect, just like I did, some sort of interconnected story in time. Maybe not time traveling, but you know how the past affects the present and etc. etc. Which it does, but more in a metaphorical way than it does like really. Overall, I didn't thought it was as boring as the previous one, I'm gonna be honest. I think it's the same kind of disappointment that I had with Crescent City, for example, which is those books that I have a lot of hope for that are not met in the end. I was expecting a bit more action when it is more a reflection on society. It is very slow, there's not much action, and it's more about what it means to be a woman in the time that you're in, and honestly, being a woman doesn't change much from 1619 to 2019. It's just that the shape of the abuse changes.